Hello and welcome to the New York Sports Show, your number one all New York sports podcast. I'm your host, Dominic Konowski, and I'm joined here by longtime West Haven sports fanatic and coach Dave Riccio. We're going to talk some New York football team sport news. You know, you got the Jets coming up, you got the Giants coming up, battle of MetLife Stadium. Now, Dave, what do you think of the Giants' chances this season to really blow it wide open in the NFC East?
Well, first of all, it's a pleasure to be here with you on this podcast. In the beginning of the 2021 football season starts Thursday night. Well, chances for the Giants. Fortunately, they're in a division that is probably the weakest one in the entire NFL. So I think their chances are just as good as the other ones that are in that division. Joe Judge this year is coming out with an experienced quarterback. I think in facing a much maligned division rivals, I think he has an opportunity to do very well.
Yeah, 100% he has an opportunity, and I gotta say that division, in a way, it's a pure joke. I cannot stress that enough, folks. You got teams that are finishing below 500 like there's no tomorrow. You got teams blowing games in that division. Really, it's a division that's truly up for grabs. Whoever is somewhat a consistent team, not the most consistent, whoever is a somewhat consistent team will win that division. I mean, that division wasn't decided till the final week because you had so many teams just winning and losing in that division. I think the biggest thing, though, Cowboys, you got Dak Prescott coming back. That's going to be huge for them. Will be hard to say, though, how they do, but now you're talking about New York Giants, experienced quarterback, Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. It's going to be fun to see what he could do. Personally, I feel like this will be a career-defining season for Daniel Jones, and it will decide whether or not he will stay with the Giants going into next year or not. They play their first game on Sunday, so it will be interesting. You got some Sunday football.
Plus, the big return of Saquon Barkley to the backfield is the huge plus for that offense, and we can't also forget that the defense, which was much maligned last year, and that is the concerning point with the Giants this year. It looks as if the offense will put up some points on the board. Is the fact that they can keep the opposing teams from putting points on the board, and that's the question regarding the Giants. You mentioned Dak Prescott. Big question mark there. He suffered an injury that many quarterbacks and many football players in the past weren't able to recover from and bounce back. They usually, in some cases, were career ending. So that's the question mark looming over the Dallas Cowboys heads. And as we look into the Washington Redskins and the Philadelphia Eagles, they have quarterback issues there. So it's going to be quite interesting to see how that division pans out as the season goes along.
Yeah, I feel like we really won't be able to see on how everything will fully go until the final 3 weeks. Now, let me remind you, folks, NFL, this is a totally different season. Now, totally different schedule, and you know what? Add another game. 17 games now this season instead of the 16. So that 17th game, we saw the division last season get decided on game 16. Will it be decided now on game 17? Or will the Dallas Cowboys, Dak Prescott, the guy's a great quarterback. He's coming off of an injury that, like you just said, and I agree with you, that it's career ending for most players, and the fact that he was able to recover so fast is truly amazing. I feel like he's gonna try to stay low the first few weeks, though, and not risk a re-injury on that, and I feel like the Cowboys will have him on some kind of time limit, minute-wise. Overall, it's all about quarterbacks right now in that division, and I would say Daniel Jones, he's a solid quarterback, but I've never seen a guy who throws so many interceptions and fumbles the ball so much. That's his biggest problem. He's getting the ball to players, but a lot of times, though, it's not the players on his team. So, that's, I think, the biggest problem with Daniel Jones. He just simply cannot throw the ball to his teammates. And that could also be an O-line issue. I don't know, just poor running. But he has to get that under control. He's now experienced in the NFL, okay? He's not a rookie anymore. He's not in his sophomore season anymore. He's been in the NFL for quite some time. And overall, he's a solid quarterback. Would I want him on my team? Yes, probably as a second stringer, as a backup, not as a starter. So, going on now to the New York Jets. Once again, under a new quarterback. God help us, I'm a diehard Jet fan. You know, it seems like every season, it's instead of ring around the rosy, it's a ring around the first round draft pick. You know, we all know it's going to be a quarterback. The Jets need serious help, but you cannot blame their lack of success on Sam Darnold. First of all, Sam Darnold never played a full season with the Jets because he had mono, he had injuries, and a lot of stuff that he just simply could not control. So, here the Jets are. You got Zach Wilson, and I gotta say, Zach Wilson to me is one of the most overrated quarterbacks. What do you think of Zach Wilson?
I agree with that. If you look at all the rookie quarterbacks that played in the preseason, he was rated near the bottom of that group. And for the draft position that the Jets were in, I think there was a few more that with a little bit better ability. And I agree with you. I mean, I thought that the Jets could have done a little better at that spot, what was left on the board. And let's hope that they see something long-term in him that's going to be that was better than some of the rookies that came out this year. The Jets were in a sort of a dilemma throughout the last for a few years now. They had they had subpar head coaching. They were hampered with that, and I think that's a problem in any major sport when your top leader fails in bringing a team to victory week after week, especially in football where all you have is 17, 16 games, 17 now. You're on a timeline, and I in my opinion, I think they held on. They held on to the last two coaches a little bit longer than what they should.
Yeah.
I think for a big market program, whether it's football, baseball, or basketball, you have to. If you could bring in the best that's available, you bring in the best that's available. Yeah. And we've seen too many in big market sports, especially in the New York area, where they have coaches by trial. Where I believe that they should. If the better coaches are out there, then that's what you bring in.
And you know what? That's another thing. You can't blame that on Sam Darnold. So he went through how many coaches in his time with the Jets? You have Todd Bowles, who gets fired after his rookie season, goes to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, wins a Super Bowl with him. That's the most New York Jets thing I ever seen. Then you get Adam Gase, who had an amazing season with the Miami Dolphins. So let me remind you though, just one amazing season, and now he's coaching a high school football team. He went from the NFL to high school football in the span of 365 days. You can't make that up. Adam Gase, he does not belong. He never really belonged to the NFL as a coach. So now you got Robert Shalia, who, if I'm correct, another defensive coordinator, was with the 49ers. I don't want him. I don't want another defensive coordinator on the Jets. Let me remind you, 49ers, their defense is what blew their Super Bowl chances and allowed the Kansas City Chiefs to win the Super Bowl a few years back. You have a guy who's supposed to be the best defensive coordinator who just blew a Super Bowl a few years back. I don't want that guy coaching my team. And what does he know about offense? That's the thing. You can't... That's another bad thing. You have a defensive coordinator as the coach. There's no offensive side to him. You have it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Offensive doesn't work for defense. Defensive doesn't work for offense. It does not work. It does not go together. You just need a regular coach that's balanced out. Zach Wilson, and like we both agree, he's overrated. Mm-hmm. He had one good season with BYU, and that's what made his stock go up so much. That one good season. The Jets had the biggest mistake, and that's having the Patriots win the draft. The Patriots wanted Mac Jones. The Jets had the opportunity to get Mac Jones. They passed on him. They could have drafted Mac Jones And you know what? They could have traded him to the Patriots and level up, and they still could have got Zach Wilson. But the fact is, they would have got a lot from the Patriots by giving them Mac Jones. What do you think of that?
Oh, I agree with that. You know, when you look at the history of the NFL, a lot of these quarterbacks, very few. Now, we've had the exceptions with the Bradshaw from East Tennessee State. I mean, back in the day, but very few quarterbacks.
Very few.
From a smaller D1 type of school have come up to be leader of the classes in quarterbacks. It's usually Brady, Michigan. You see that most of these quarterbacks have played in the larger Division One against a better competition, where you could see the true talent at 100%.
Yeah.
Where it's sort of misled when you see a quarterback who faces other little D1 type schools. You don't get a true read. So I think that the Jets missed the boat on that one in regards to some of the quarterbacks that were left on the draft board that were available to them.
Sure.
You know, they went to BYU. BYU is in between. It's not a small Division I school, and it's not where you would call at the larger of a big. It sort of fits in the middle, but still.
Yeah.
The competition. Look at the competition that BYU played against.
Yeah.
It's not the same type of competition.
It's not high competition
that the Bama's played on. And
yeah.
So.
What I love about the Jets quarterbacks, okay, let's go back a few years. You had Geno Smith, promising quarterback injury. You got Ryan Fitzpatrick. He did so much with the team, and every time Ryan Fitzpatrick, when people expect him to do a sucky job, he overperforms massively, and then the teams give him a huge paycheck, and then he underperforms massively. That's what happened with Ryan Fitzpatrick. And then you just go through a few quarterbacks, boom, you get Sam Darnold. He has not a single complete season. Now you got Zach Wilson, who looks like a 12-year-old, you know? And that's the thing. Another young, inexperienced quarterback. But let's look at who the quarterbacks on the AFC East. You got Buffalo Bills' Josh Allen, who everyone's saying that the Buffalo Bills are going to win the Super Bowl. Josh Allen is a Super Bowl-capable quarterback, 100%. You got the Miami Dolphins with Tua Tagovailoa. I think he's injury-prone, personally. I don't think the Miami Dolphins will get really anything out of him. Patriots, Mac Jones. You could say the same thing with the Jets. He's an inexperienced quarterback who's now a starter because they released Cam Newton.
Correct.
And then you got the Jets with Zach Wilson. You know, the Jets, they're not going anywhere this season. You know, they're going to have either a just below 500 season or they're going to have just above 500 season. I will love to see, though, on how Zach Wilson does. But the biggest, and I think the funniest part is Sam Darnold, after the New York Jets traded him off to the Panthers, he's now reunited with wide receiver Robbie Anderson, and they had a beautiful fourth season together when Sam Darnold had his rookie season. I think they're going to explode together on the Panthers, and the Jets actually play against the Panthers in Week 1, so that will be very fun to see, and 100%. Sam Darnold's pissed off. He has a lot to prove to the Jets. He's going to go out there Week 1 this Sunday, and he's going to kick some ASS. 100%.
No, I agree. You know, we were talking about these one-year quarterbacks that come in. You know, you left out one of the biggest, Sanchez, when he was quarterback. Here's a one-year starter playing behind Palmer all those years at USC. And what happens, he didn't have the playing time to really.
I like Mark Sanchez.
You like Sanchez?
Yeah, I like Mark Sanchez. He was the only one that could beat the Patriots in the playoffs at Gillette Stadium. He did great things for the Jets. So many people hate Sanchez.
And actually, if I'm mistaken, that last year you went to the playoffs, wasn't he? Was he your quarterback? We went to when the Steelers when you.
Yeah,
he should have beat my team there.
Yeah, yeah. Dave's a big Steelers fan.
Yeah, I'm a huge Steelers fan. But outside of that, Dominic is absolutely correct. This is a trial year, I think, for the Jets. I think you're going to need 2, maybe 3 more good drafts.
Yes.
To really buffer that team to a position where you're going to be a contender. You're not there yet. I think you're on the mark when regarding your record, what you're predicting, what they should be at. But it's going to be quite an interesting year for New York sports in football this year, and I'm looking forward to the start Thursday night. And I've been looking forward for football. Football's one of my favorite sports to watch, and I think it's going to be an interesting season for New York sports.
It's going to be a huge season and very interesting, like you said. Well, Dave, thank you for joining us here on the NYSS, folks. Once again, that is Dave Riccio. Dave, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rabina.